First, a lot of thanks to Professor Igal Levine here at Bar Ilan University in Tel Aviv, Israel, who has given me a chance to hold this guest lecture. Next, a thank to Dr. Eyal Be'eri from Ariel University, native of Beit El in Benjamin region in Samaria, who have shown a lot of patience with me, enough to have worked with me for the last 7 years. Third, thank to all of you for spending this time listening to my message. I am honored. It's the 3rd of December 2025. I do not hold a PhD. I am an investigative journalist born in Norway and a researcher into history. My particular interest is a tribal people in India who 15 years ago touched my heart. I love to dig into the unknown. Also the topic of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. It is not so strange if you have not heard about the Banjara tribe in India. Few people have. They were supposed to have been converted and assimilated into Hinduism long ago. Next, British oppressors in India trashed them, cancelled their culture, put this nomadic tribe in confinement in secluded camps, and criminalized them by law from birth. The tribals call themselves Gor Banjaras or simply Gors. The blood libels thrown on the Gors are of similar nature as the blood libels used against Jews in England in medieval times. The accusations are the Gors kidnapped children, slaughtered them, and used their blood for religious purposes. So, how to connect the Gor Banjara tribe to ancient Israel and the people of the book? The challenge is to find acceptance for crossing the borders of professionals, including classical recorded sources of history, folklore, DNA, anthropology, and not to forget common sense. How do you find the history of a tribe who lost its history? A tribe that has no unified narrative of who they are. A tribal people who close to 100% are illiterate and struggle to survive on a day-to-day basis. My journey started on a scrapyard in Goa 15 years ago. I had faced Gor children being spat at and beaten on the beach just because they were Gors, treated like Jews, Untermensch. On the scrapyard, I befriended 200 Gor Banjaras. I won their trust and hearts, becoming like one of them for a full 1 day.
ते बॉटल पट्टाला
Let's see how much money I can make.
सरप्राइज आ रहा है.
अरे बाप
Arti ka pisa, kitna, katra, kilo. Medium.
He's waiting to get his first income. Quick, quick, he can't wait. इसमें सी आपका पैसा है. ब्लेसिंग्स मांगता है, हाँ, सुरक्षा मांगता है. मेरा बंजारा परिवार बहुत अच्छा है. यीशु मसीह का नाम. Amen.
Who would do this, collecting as much scrap as he could in a bid to survive? Next, I took 30 of the children out of enforced child labor and placed them in schools. I was by certain people branded a missionary. I could care less. I'm not going to deny who I am. A Christian Zionist. Why should I deny Zionism? And why should I not tell others who I think the Messiah is? You are a free human being. You are free to believe whatever you want. To search for something that seems to have not been recorded or purposely deleted in the past seems to be a waste of energy. I had to use all my skills and senses as an investigative journalist to create a framework for this task. I came across a small unknown elite group of Gor Banjaras, the National Banjara Professors Association. They are around 120 organized souls, the top of the cream of the pie, a hardly visual elite in the cosmos of at least 50 million members of this tribe. The professors are Gors who have taken higher education at university levels. In one of their booklets, I discovered an important clue. It was recorded that the Gor Banjaras roamed India and went abroad from 600 BC, before Christ, to 350 BC. Well, if so, in what direction did they travel when they voyaged out of India? North, maybe south, east, or maybe westwards? And did they put any fingerprints on the environments they entered? Cyrus the Great, you all know him, the emperor of Persia and ruler of the known world. He had recently annexed the Indus Valley. As you stepped out of the Bolan Pass or Cyber Pass in Himalaya, you entered Persia, the Achaemenid Empire. In those days, Persia, we were about to enter the age of Queen Esther, Hadassah, from the tribe of Benjamin. She was an exceptional beauty and surely a dolly kind of girl. Could it be that Gor Banjara females had made her an idol? Could it be possible to find an Esther kind of winning dress code among the Gor's females? Bingo! A deep study and search for a common female coin-based dress code of Persia was crowned by success. It was like hitting the jackpot of a casino. I now had to invent a methodology that was workable and trustable, that could be cross-checked by others. Coins in the headgear of females is a custom that appears in the Achaemenid Empire. These headgears displayed the husband's wealth, as many coins as a richer husband. The Gors traveled interstate in huge caravans called a tanda. There are written historical records that these caravans could be of 180,000 bullocks. They could be 40 kilometers long or so. Surely an amazing caravan sight. Who could stop them and tax them? Would you like a try? Would you like to make a try? The Gors have put their fingerprints around in the wilderness, on places that makes a perfect resting and resupply base for these caravans. These places are rivers, villages with huge markets, like religious shrines, elevated hilltops, lakes, etc. They are named Tanda. Inside the four corners of Persia, we find females who use coins as part of their headgears. They also do very often have a tanda somewhere in the surroundings. To search for and rediscover such tandas may be able to make the first Banjara world map. This work took me to the hills of Judea. Just take a look at the classical dress code of these beauties from the villages around Bethlehem. Influenced by the Torah culture of the pre-Christian age of the Judean hills, the Banjara folklore can be used to confirm the coin connection. Professor D.B. Naik of the Folklore University of Karnataka in Haveri spent his younger days collecting the local folklore of his tribe. One of his books is named Lambani Banjara Proverbs. Approximately 900 proverbs have been collected. At least 50 of them are similar to the proverbs found in the Bible. Who is a gypsy, and from where did they come? There is an important distinction between the Egyptian version of gypsy, Gyptian, and a Persian gypsy, Gorbati. Egyptians became a Gyptian when God of Israel erased their culture and destroyed all their ancient idols. Gorbatis are the Persian word for gypsies that becomes homeless when the Hellenists, like Alexander the Great, destroyed the ancient Persian city of Gor, today's Firuzabad in the Fars province. Gorbati and Gormati is the same word. The Gor's language in today's India is Gormati. DNA also tell a different story than official narratives. We find tandas in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. The Celts claim they were together with the people of Israel in Egypt, in Goshen, but did not cross the Red Sea during the Exodus. The Celts remained in Western Europe, with Wales, Scotland, and Ireland as today's base. Now let us turn the Banjara world map around. Why did we make India the starting point of their journey? Why not Persia? India is not a political formation 600 BC, one or a few united kingdoms. India is a loose commonwealth of tribes. The DNA of Banjaras tell us that their DNA is not of Southern Asia origin. They have a DNA who is placed between the Middle East and Western Europe. 40% of the Gors are of the DNA group R1b. That is the classical Celtic DNA. During their endless caravan journeys, the Gor has assimilated people of different DNA groups. There seems to be tribals with Levitical ancestry in the center of the tribe. I would ask, why not? I would ask, why not? Like 5.7% of the Gors have DNA group J2, the most common DNA group of males from the Middle East. A travel westwards into North Africa after the exodus from Egypt is in line with Celtic folklore. The Celtic narrative can be used to explain why there are several tandas of the Gors in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. At one point of time, they returned eastwards, entered Persia, and took the caravans further into the Indus Valley and the Himalayas. Much later, of course, when violent Islam entered the Himalayas, the Gors eventually took shelter in southern India. That is a very short version of this narrative. Tandas offered an escape. The tribe of Levi was very much a service tribe that was spread out to be able to serve the other 11 tribes. For Levites on the run, a Banjara caravan or tanda seemed to give a perfect cover for an escape and re-establishment of services. Through the ages, the Levitical culture became popular among the Gors, and it became so strong that 81 years of fierce persecution in British Imperial India could not delete it. I met Dr. Eyal Berry at Dr. Shalva Wales' office at Mount Scopus in November 2018. She introduced us. Dr. Eyal Berry from Ariel University came to a handful of tandas, villages, around the city of Gadag in August 2023. 2 different years of almost no work was behind us, the COVID crisis. We did not know that 2 extremely difficult years was just in front of us, bringing all kinds of not essential work to a standstill. Eyal identified at least 10 rituals and traditions used in everyday life that very likely have its origin in ancient Israel. Eyal has most likely hit the tip of the iceberg, truly remarkable. After exiles and captivity, why did the Levites re-establish their services inside the Gor Banjara tribe? How and why did they succeed? There are 3 observations of Levites and Gors that very unlikely could have occurred just out of the blue. First, the worship of Nehustan among Gors, the snake of Moses. Second, the dual use of 2 Levite names, 2 temple musicians, Heman and Bukia. 3, the Levites in Shiraz in Persia and the Gorbati people and the ancient city of Gors, their Levite connection. French adventurist and businessman Jean-Baptiste Tavernier observed an exact copy of Nehustan and its worship among Banjaras in India. This snake was demolished by King Hezekiah of Judah, who was king 715 BC. but its worship continued in the wilderness of India up to the 7th century AD. It looks like the Levites attached to the Gors did not stay in touch with other Levite priests who abandoned this worship practice. This could have been Levite priests who never returned from exile in Babylon, or might have already reached the Indus Valley in the age of the Davidic kingdom before the exiles and captivity. Tavernier observed something of great historical relevance. To claim that someone purposely would restart such a worship after a break of 1,000 years, or just did so by a strange coincidence, is more or less to be considered a fairy tale. There are many cultures that use the same names without being connected. But the Levite name Bukia is not a widely used name. When used in the same village together with Heman, it's almost not thinkable that there is no Levite connection. And Bukia is not used randomly. It is the name of the largest subclan of the Gor Banjara tribe. There is also a religious connection. Before the Criminal Tribe Acts was enforced on the Gors in 1879, the Gors worshipped a man named Mutu Bukia. Almost every Tanda had a hut set up for his worship. Often the first hut at the entry of the Tanda set up for prayer for the protection of the community. The British rulers criminalized such worship because London claimed the Gors prayed to him to help them rob other people. Robbed items were supposed to have been brought before the idol. Mittu Bukia was considered by British Imperial India as a freebooter, a pirate or lawless adventurer. Jean-Baptiste Tavernier is an important witness. He identified worship of Nehustan, and he connects the Jews of Persia with the Gorbati Gor people in the 17th century of Persia. The Jews of Shiraz claimed they were from the tribe of Levi. These Jews lived in the same area as the Gors. Why are the Gors' connection to Jews in Shiraz important? Simply because you cannot easily pick up Levite priestly services if there is no Levites to be found in your neighborhood. If the Gors had more ancient connections to the tribe of Levi, Shiraz was the place this could be rediscovered and nourished, a knowledge that triggered blood libels in Imperial British India and was eventually cancelled and deleted. The Gor Banjara tribe has Levite priests in its center who keep Nazarene customs up till this day. But can these Levites be used to identify which lost tribe they serve? Well, no one has visited them, gained their trust, and asked them, who are the Gors of old? Let us say, is this tribe predating the Davidic kingdom? Most likely, we will never be able to know for sure. Could the answer be found in Old Persian non-Jewish or Jewish chroniclers? It would be very strange if the Gors did not have an ancient folklore that explained these Levites that they were of the lost tribes of Israel. And very likely, more than 1,000 years ago, they had knowledge of which tribe. Now we are entering into the profession of psychology. Who were closest to the heart of Levi? Why did such an extraordinary effort to one of the other tribes? Well, I have often wondered if the Gors are a remnant of Simeon, the fully blood-related brother of Levi. Their mother Leah did not feel loved by their father, Jacob. They were hot-tempered, rejected men who were even cursed by their father because of the trouble they created for him. Inside today's tandas, you can literally see these two brothers erupt into verbal fights, screaming out of pure anger and behaving like mad men. You will be wondering if a murder is about to take place. But after some time, they will hug each other like if they always have been close brothers and friends and never have had any kind of disputes. Tanda life is a very interesting object for a deep psychoanalysis. The tribe of Simeon also disappeared, not only taken captive, but most likely assimilated into the major tribe of Judah. Simeonites were very likely a part of the exiled Israelis in Babylon. Thank you for listening to my guest lecture. If you would like to know more of my work, please visit this site. Have a nice and blessed day.